So, hi everyone. This thing still says connecting. Okay, so on Substack, I'm officially connected. All right. Hey everyone, how are you doing? Happy Valentine's Day to you. All right. So, I am I am officially on Facebook and on Substack. So, hi everyone. Like I was saying, happy Valentine's Day to all of you. I hope and happy Galentine's Day to my girls. Um, I hope you're having an amazing day so far. I know I am. It's a beautiful morning. It's not raining. It's not raining today, so I'm happy. Even though I like when it rains, but actually I can go out, so I'm excited about that. I'm gonna go to brunch with a friend of mine and we're gonna have a good time. So on Facebook is different. I always have to tag followers and stuff, which is cool. Uh, Highlight. There we go. And okay, I think we're good on Facebook. Too many buttons for me to try to manage all of this, but I did what I did. Anywho, so what's love got to do with it is definitely the name I came up with because today happened to be Valentine's Day. So what are the odds? Because then I know I've talked about this before that we need to be very mindful that passion, for founders and business owners is not what your company or corporation should run on. And that's to say that if you have the passion and the grit, then that's not enough. Just like in any relationship, love is not enough to get you through and make sure that you are able to sustain what you have. So you have to be very mindful of that. And okay, let me tag a few more people, or not tag. Let me send this to a few more people. All right. Yeah. So you definitely have to be mindful of that and not let that fallacy or the fake idea guide what you're doing because it doesn't work, right? Just if you're going to depend on mostly, and I mean it, mostly um, this fallacy that love is going to make everything okay, then you're going to be in for a rude awakening. And I'm not saying that to scare you, but I'm saying that because, like I said, even in relationships, that's the idea. You can't depend on a feeling or a word to take you where you need to go. You have to have a plan. You have to be able to think of it in a way that is logical because we have to be more logical in a lot of situations, and that includes running our businesses, our companies, and things like that. So I really want you to look at that and really be more mindful. Okay, so Facebook is going to be on the screen. So if you see me looking away, don't mind me. I am just making sure there is nothing over there. Back on this the window. All right, so welcome. Anybody who's here, again, hashtag live if you're catching the live, hashtag replay if you're catching the replay. This is definitely the right time. And again, happy Valentine's Day, whether you're celebrating love, ignoring it, or just trying to survive it. Today is the day we're going to talk about love and not the romantic kind. We're going to talk about love in the sense of the work that you do, your business, your company, because something that we don't talk about enough, just because you love your business, you're passionate, you're driven, you believe in your mission, does not mean you don't experience certain things like burnout, frustration, or like get to a point where you don't understand why it's not growing. Okay, so the conversation today is what's love got to do with it? What's love got to do with growing a business? Okay, so just to play on words today, just because of Valentine's Day and where we are, right? And it's something that's not it's very plain and simple. And also, y'all, if you have not met me before, my name is Stacey. Okay, I'm an operations consultant. And for those who don't understand what that means, I help businesses and organizations, nonprofit and for profit, to stop letting things fall through the cracks. And there's no other way to explain that. Because I'm sure you've run a business and you're doing so many multiple things, and then something else is not being done, right? Something else is not being handled. So, what I help my clients do, I help them build systems, clarify certain roles, set up workflows, automate what can be automated, because that's the other thing that companies don't understand, or small businesses, is that oftentimes if you can automate certain things, it saves you a lot of time on the back end and front end, right? So set up your workflows, automate, like I said, and then so you can actually operate like a business instead of running on adrenaline or the day just started kind of feeling, right? And I work with organizations that are also mission driven, passionate, talented, because then I don't see a lack of that, because everybody I meet has a passion for the work that they do, but their back end is not really structured, right? So eventually, what happens is that that catches up with them. Okay. So where we're where we're going to start is that people can really love their business and what they're doing. You can love your clients, but still fail epically on the operational side. Okay. Because what I am very clear on is that operations is basically the structural ability for the company to run the way it's supposed to run. And I'll say company, business, nonprofits, you fit in the same box. Okay. Just because you have a nonprofit status does not mean you're not a business. So if you hear company or anything, like stop trying to think, oh, this doesn't pertain to me. Yes, it does. Okay. So passion is going to be the spark that you guys experience when you're running your company, and operation is the wiring in the walls. Okay. So think about it. You have electricity in your house, but if there's no wiring, how is it going to work? Okay. So you have to think about the structural side. You don't see the wiring, just like operation is not something that you clearly see. But if it's not done correctly, the whole thing burns down. Okay. So I want you to think about that and really consider that when you're thinking about what operations is, because that's the part that's most important and valuable, and that people need to start understanding. Operations is not, oh, let me do this or whatever. It really is, okay, it's you fixing the structure on the back end, because that's what you need to do. So, all right. Now that I gave you that analogy and you understand somewhat what that means, um, I'll give you an example so you can see it a little bit better and understand the nuances of what operations is. Let's say you're a nonprofit, right? You love serving the youth. You get a grant, everyone is is excited, but no one, I mean no one, like there is no clear outline of how you're going to track attendance, right? There's no documented process for intake where you just write people's names down on a sheet, because you have not created a system for that. No one is setting up reporting timelines. So, in if you think big picture, what happens is that 3 months later, a year later, if that program is still running, people are still scrambling around trying to figure out how to make that work, or how is that working. Because now, if you ask them for a report or data on this specific thing, they're looking, but it's not easy for them to find, because nobody ever set up the structure on how to collect this information. So, When I say what's love got to do with it, it's not because people do not care when they're running companies or anything. It's because there's no structure behind it. And when there's no structure behind it, it makes it difficult to actually function properly because you're always running around. Okay, so passion, love has nothing to do with it. It really just comes down to how you structure your company or business. And let's say you're a small business owner, right? And your store sells, oh, I'll think about that. You sell crystals, right? You sell crystals, you sell um let me see what I have. You sell bracelets, you sell like different things for the community that enjoys that kind of stuff, right? You love what you sell. You're great at it. You're very knowledgeable on what you're selling and the properties of these different stones and these different items that you're selling, right? But what's happening is that you have no process in place. You have no CRM. You don't track your clients, right? There's no communication between the clients, right? And there's no automation for certain things, and there's no follow up system. Because if you're a small business, you need to realize that you need some type of follow up. You need some type of check in because the name of the game right now is relationships. You need to build trust and you need to get retention. You need to get clients coming back. So if those systems do not exist and everything lives in your head, oh, I remember Stacey. She came in my shop the other day, right? So I am going to just look out for her when I go in the community. That's not enough, right? Because when things get busy and you don't remember that, you don't have time to do that. Remember at the beginning, I was saying I help people like companies prevent things falling through the cracks. When you get busy, that's what's going to happen. Things are going to start falling through the cracks. It's not because passion for your business or what you do or what you sell failed you. It's not because the love you have for your company failed you. It's because you had a lack of systems. That's what failed you. So I want you to think about that and really look at it from a different point of view and understand that love and passion for your company, your business have nothing to do with it. You need to start looking at the infrastructure of what's happening in your business, right? And look at the operations overall because a lot of folks like I've been talking about operations and systems before it was even popular. Now I'm looking at my feed, everybody's talking about it. Everybody changed their model to talk about systems and operation because a lot of folks are realizing that even managing your personal life, you need to have a system where it is just on automatic. There's a reason certain people create a schedule for their home and have a system for how things are done because what it does, it facilitates the process and ensures your home is moving in a certain way. So it's not just business that can have systems, your personal life can do too, so it can operate well. So operations is basically how work moves from start to finish because when you start the work, right, you need to have a process for how it's going to move. So when you get to the finish line, it makes sense. Okay. So operations is how work moves. Idea to execution, client inquiry to paid invoice, grant award to program delivery. So new hire to becoming a productive team member. So all of these is how the work moves, right? If that movement, how that work is supposed to happen, if there is a lack of clarity in that, what happens is that you start feeling overwhelmed because when there's a new hire in place and there's no system in place to ensure that this new hire understands the process and knows what they're doing, what happens to you as a business owner, as a company owner, organization, leader, is that you start feeling overwhelmed because now you have to stop your work to ensure that the person is able to do their work because they didn't have an appropriate system, onboarding system in place to teach them how to do the work. So you have to start thinking, is this documented and structured? because when that happens, you start feeling more calm in the way that you move with your organization and the way that you do your work, right? Because what operations is not, that a lot of people confuse software for for operations, right? It's not the fancy software. It's not the green little light or Monday.com or let's say what's another software or Asana. These are not what make operations. These are just tools, right? The complicated dashboards, you can have tools to support your systems and operations, but that does not mean those are actually what define operations, right? So all of that are like those things are tools, and I do not want you to confuse operations with the tools. Tools are just there to assist improve your operations, but that does not take the whole infrastructure away, because if you replace one tool with another to support the work, then it's still a tool. Just like some people use Excel spreadsheet or Google spreadsheet to collect data. And then once they start improving, they get a more automated thing to collect this data. Because then Airtable is one tool that some people use to collect data, because now Airtable has AI agents. Because then I talked about automations, it has workflows. So instead of just using Google Spreadsheet, they're using another tool. They replace spreadsheets, Excel spreadsheets, with Airtable. So there are tools to support the work that you do. Operations, when talk about operations, it's just the clarity. Okay. Because you need to get to a point where you know who does what, when it's getting done, and how it's getting done, and where it gets tracked. And it gets tracked in a tool. But the operations is basically knowing what's happening in that case. And that's what I want you to be familiar with. Okay. And that's why the name of the whole live is What's Love Got to Do with It? Because love isn't enough. And like I was sharing in the beginning, love is not enough to sustain a relationship or marriage. It's all the other things that support that relationship that matter. Communication, like your systems for communication, other systems that you have to support different aspect of your lives. Those matter more than just the love aspect, because you may love someone very, very much, but if that person is not able to move forward with you in a way that makes sense, like, then love don't matter. So that's why I say, what's love got to do with it? Love is not enough. When it comes to running a company, an organization, a business, I don't care if you're a for-profit or a nonprofit, this fits you. Okay? Because you cannot continue to hide behind the passion that you have, behind how good you are at what you do. You can't keep saying, I care so much, but my mission matters. No, it's not enough. We have to start getting out of that and start thinking about, okay, this is what's happening, and really look at the information in front of us, really look at the data, because hard work without structure, it does nothing but lead to exhaustion. So you have to start thinking about the big picture here and stop playing around with your own feelings, because I'm not going to do that for you, because you don't want structure because it feels boring. Yes, running a business is boring, especially when you reach a level of consistency and sustainable growth. It will get boring because it's just repetitiveness, and that's okay. That's the name of the game. Consistency feels boring, right? Documentation feels boring, because then there are a lot of people that are not data analysts that is boring to them. There are some people that enjoy it, but like in people that collect data, so documentation, a lot of people feel like that's not interesting. It doesn't liven them up, right? Automations feel boring for some people, but the thing is, once you set the sucker up, you're done. Okay, you just got to set it up. So I've said this several times last year, the year before, sometimes you have to slow down to speed up. And operations requires that you slow down to speed up, especially if the data is telling you that something is wrong. If you have a high turnover and you're not keeping staff, something is wrong. It might be your onboarding, it might be the way that you select new team members, new hires, but something is broken and there needs to be a way for you to look at the big picture and make certain decisions, right? So you have to figure that out because you have to look at the infrastructure and figure out what's going on, right? Because what else is boring? Sorry guys, I'm still coughing after my cold like 3 weeks ago. I'm going to cough for another month or two. I'm just letting you know. The other thing that's boring is stability because stability feels boring for a lot of people. I've seen, I've been in some posts, right? I mean, some groups on Facebook, and some people will literally comment on anonymous, which I'm glad they do. My husband is boring, and I feel, I am going to file for divorce because nothing is changing. Because some people's stability is boring. So, but the other thing is stability also allows for growth. So you have to understand what stability looks like and what that means because love is not going to fix it. Okay. It's the way you communicate what's happening, the way you structure certain things. That's what's going to help you scale. That's what's going to help you accomplish sustainable growth. So you have to think about systems because that you can scale. Okay. You can't scale love. You can actually scale systems. So think about the systems that you have so you can improve your operations because that ain't got nothing to do with it, y'all. I'm just saying. And since it's Valentine's Day, um, love in a relationship doesn't replace communication. We know that, right? It doesn't replace consistency. That we know as well. And it doesn't replace effort. Just because you love someone but you make no effort does not mean the relationship is going to flourish because you put in no effort. That's just like me sitting down and looking at you, but I love you. But there's no effort on my part to ensure that the relationship is growing and and two people need to make the effort, but that's a conversation for another day and a relationship coach, not me. But in business it's the same thing, right? You can love the business all day. You can love your company all day. But if you don't start tracking your numbers, right? Defining your processes, what that looks like, what your systems look like, and managing your cash flow. Okay, and getting very familiar and granular with your cash flow and creating repeatable systems, then you're operating on a level of emotions. You're operating emotionally and it's causing slow slow progress or no progress. That's why a lot of people can't see growth. They can't see what they're looking for. They can't see the sustainability. And oh, Ricky, I didn't see your comment. Ricky on Facebook said automation equals time back. Yes, automation literally saves you time. I love automating a few things, especially things that are repeatable. So that's the way I want you to think about it and look about it because emotion is not going to build structure. Emotion is not it. Okay. So you have to start getting practical. You have to start. I don't want you to think that it's detaching emotionally, but you have to get really logical and practical when it comes to setting up the structure in your company and your business because that's what is going to take it. And like if you have solid operations, what that looks like is making sure you have a level of clarity in your roles. Like, okay, what is this person responsible for? Because there are some jobs and positions where somebody has a title, right? And the role is on the paper, like you interviewed them for this, but when it comes to them actually working, you ask them to do some random stuff that have nothing to do with what they were hired for. So there's that level of clarity because that person needs to understand what they're responsible for and what they are accountable for. Because when people don't know what they're accountable for, when things start falling through them cracks, we talked about, they are not going to say, "Oh, I messed up," because they weren't accountable for it. They weren't held accountable for it because they didn't know it was their responsibility. And these people, when there's a lack of clarity in the roles, they don't know what success looks like because that's something that lacks consistency for their role. So there needs to be a level of clarity in their role, and you need to be able to define for them what success looks like. Okay. And good operations, solid operations, the other thing that I want you to look for is documented processes, right? If someone leaves tomorrow, like if your favorite coworker, your work wife, your work husband, that look like everything was going well, you guys are buddy buddy, do everything together, they decide to leave tomorrow, what's going to happen? Because the work that you used to do, if you depended on that person to do their work for you to do yours, and they actually did their work well because they were a good employee, what happens if they leave because the people before never did what that person did, but they left? So you have to think about what's documented and not documented. Is there an onboarding process, a documented process that outlines what that person did or what they didn't do? Is there client communication processes that are outlined? Are there reporting processes outlined? Data entry, marketing, workflow, all of that. You need to think about all of that. Like you need to think about the metrics, how you define them. Because if you don't, then it's gonna be an issue. Okay. So think about all these things. Like it's not love, it's not vibes. Like it really comes down to infrastructure. So if you are in Sacramento, I am going to be hosting and teaching at a workshop. It's for automations and processes for small businesses. So, operations automations for small businesses. It's in Sacramento. So, on Wednesday, February 25th at 6 p.m. at the Outlet Co-working. That's downtown Sacramento. And Operations and Automation for Small Businesses is the name of the workshop. It's free for small businesses. Nonprofits are welcome because, like I say, like these two things apply to both for profit and nonprofit. So if you're a small business owner, I don't care if you're a realtor, because realtors are small businesses as well and need to ensure that they have systems in place to improve the work that they do. If you have a small business, an organization, definitely show up and sign up for that event. I know there's a post about it on my Facebook page and also on my Instagram. But if you want the link to register for this workshop and you're in Sacramento, definitely DM me the word workshop and I'll send the registration link to you because you need to be in that room and it's free. Okay, so there's a barrier removed for you, it's free. Okay, definitely let me know. And what time is it? I got to start heading out. So I want you to start looking at your numbers, your processes to see if you have these things. If there are some repeatable or repeat things that are repeatable that you can automate because you need to start building stability. And your stability is going to help you build capacity, and that capacity is going to help you build revenue. Okay, if you're not familiar with these terms, stability, we all know what stability means. Capacity is the resources and how you're able to do the work, right? And revenue, we already know what revenue means. It means that cash money. We live in a capitalistic country. If you live in the US, oh, you need revenue to make things move, okay, whether you like it or not. And revenue is going to fund your mission for your company, business, organization, however your brain is telling you to process that. So these are things I want you to look at now. And I want you to ask yourself, like, if you're gone for 2 weeks, would your business still function? Would it be okay? So these are questions I want you to ask yourself. Are processes for my business written down? Okay. Um, do you know where to get your monthly numbers, your revenue, number of clients, number of contacts, and stuff like that without scrambling and looking at all your papers and all your cards? Do you know this information? Okay. So, this topic that I did today, what's love got to do with it? Love gives you the reason. We know that, right? Your why. Love gives it to you. Passion gives it to you. But operations is what's going to give you the results. Okay. You don't need to love spreadsheets. You don't need to love documentation. You don't need to love automation tools. You just need to respect structure. Okay. Because structure is going to protect your vision. Now, if this conversation on here hit home for you, I want you to go ahead and click the link in my stand store and book a consultation with me for us to talk about what your operation looks like and talk about what how to fix certain issues so I can refer you to the best um, possible solution because you have to be able to talk about the problem and audit the problem so I can help you figure out what you need to do next. Okay, so definitely click the link in my stand store and let's book a consultation. And the other thing I want to say before I go, because then I have a Galentine's brunch I'm going to. Um, we need to do all of that. You need to create a plan and know what you're doing so you can build that infrastructure. So happy Valentine's Day. Happy Galentine's Day to my gals. And I hope you enjoy your day and weekend and that we see each other very soon. Bye, y'all. And don't forget to sign up for that workshop if you're in Sacramento. Okay. Bye, y'all.